Welcome everyone. This is Tuesday and we're going to be taking a look at the responsorial psalm from Sunday's Mass. It's Psalm 116, and it's always helpful before we start reading a psalm to look at the heading that's in the Bible. So this is called Thanksgiving to God who saves from death. Thanksgiving to God who saves from death. So that's really going to help us, even before we start reading the psalm, to understand what it says. It's broken up into three parts, part 1, part 2, part 3. Really, part 1 and 2 are the same. And then there's part 3, which is the third part. Part 1 and 2 combined is about the same length as part 2, if we want to go this way. And they're kind of two halves of the same psalm. They kind of repeat each other's themes. We saw this last week. It begins with a man who's describing some type of a very dangerous situation, possibly even close to death, and God saves him. So then he starts reflecting on how he should respond to God's great act of mercy. So a little background to the psalm, and here we go. I love the Lord, who listened to my voice in supplication, who turned an ear to me on the day I called. I was caught by the cords of death. The snares of Sheol had seized me. I felt agony and dread. Then I called on the name of the Lord. O Lord, save my life. Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Yes, our God is merciful. The Lord protects the simple. I was helpless, and he saved me. Return, my soul, to your rest. The Lord has been very good to you. For my soul has been freed from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I shall walk before the Lord in the land of the living. I kept faith, even when I said, I am greatly afflicted. I said in my alarm, all men are liars. How can I repay the Lord for all the good he has done for me? I will raise the cup of salvation and call on the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows to the Lord in the presence of all the people. Dear in the eyes of the Lord is the death of his devoted. Lord, I am your servant, the child of your maidservant. You have loosed my bonds. I will offer a sacrifice of praise and call on the name of the Lord. I will pay my vows to the Lord in the presence of all his people, in the courts of the house of the Lord, in your midst, O Jerusalem. Hallelujah. So, you can start to hear the same language in the first half of the psalm and in the second half of the psalm. It begins, like I said, with the man acknowledging that he's in mortal danger, and then God intervenes and saves him. And then certain things are happening here. He says, you will save the simple, and my soul will return to its rest before this terrible situation. And this is really kind of beautiful. So he says, for my soul has been freed from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. And then he goes right into, I will walk before the Lord. So he's stumbling, and then all of a sudden he's saved, and now he can walk upright. A little while later, the same imagery is going to be used, that the the powers of Sheol, which is kind of like hell, but the powers of Sheol have entangled his feet. And they're like nets that are trying to pull him down. And again, he's freed from this, from his affliction or from whatever it is, and then he's able to move through life again. So he says, well, how can I repay God for all this? I will raise the cup of salvation. It's probably a ritual back then of offering a libation to God. Sometimes that libation was actually poured out on the ground. So maybe he's saying that I will pour a libation on the ground for God. And then he says, I will be faithful to the vows that I made to God. Probably he made a vow to God that if you saved me, I would go to the temple and offer there a sacrifice of praise or attend liturgies or something. So he says, I'm going to fulfill that vow. I'm going to go to Jerusalem. I'm going to fulfill the vows I made in the temple. So it's really a beautiful, beautiful psalm. I'd encourage you to read that. Read it out loud with affection, with attention, with emotion, with energy. Then read it prayerfully and quietly. Again, in the Connections workbook, there's space for you to do some journaling and to reflect on how that psalm relates to your life. Also, go to the footnotes. The footnotes really explain the Psalms. They explain all the books in the Bible. They're officially approved by the bishops, and they're just helpful for us to understand, have a fuller understanding of the Psalm in this case, but all the readings that we hear at Mass on Sunday. God bless, and we'll be taking a look at the second reading from Mass tomorrow on Wednesday. Thank you.